Just when you thought it was safe, Carol.
Just when you thought it was safe. I don't know where to start after what we just watched. I don't know. I'm wondering if our audience is still trying to pick themselves back off the floor.
I know I am.
With that ending, but nevertheless, welcome Pamela Rabe to our second last interrogation room for the series.
Was that just the longest pause on a Facebook Live intro ever?
Yes.
Thanks for going with me with that.
I feel like we got everyone involved from the beginning. It was setting up the.
I just thought maybe I just won't ever come up for air.
I was hoping you were. I was worried that there was a point there where you weren't.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you came to join us.
I'm really I'm thrilled to be here. A little scared, a little shaky actually. I find that really difficult to watch that stuff. You know, because you're so intent on and focused on doing your job well as part of an incredibly skilled team under the pump, pulling that stuff off. You're so focused on what technically has to be achieved, but also being there, being in the moment, all that kind of stuff. It's not until you actually watch it that you're aware. I have this sudden kind of split personality thing. I see that's a person that I recognize as being the person that, when she wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror, that looks a little bit like me, and it's I go through the feelings much more presently as I watch it as an audience member than, you know, in a weird way than when I was when we were making it, because we were so under the pump.
Yeah, and you sort of see it all come together, and you see it from all the different other characters' angles and camera angles as well.
You receive the story as an audience member.
Yeah.
But an audience member that's watching somebody that they know really well go through something horrific.
Yeah, and what a scene it was.
Yeah,
what a
pretty
scene it
full on.
was. And I'm sure you're also nervous because you've heard from all of the other cast how intense my interrogation rooms are, and
absolutely,
how
I'm terrified. I was expecting the swinging light and the all of that stuff.
And we don't let you get off easy. We go straight in, and we get to the bottom of all the fans' pressing questions.
Can I just say something first that I reckon would be really good is that I've heard enough about these and I've seen enough of them to know that there's the floating emoji thing, and I reckon that maybe people should just get a little bit of that off their chest. And I know that you really want Joan Ferguson dead, and I think you should just release a little bit of that. So I think everybody should. I just would love to see if we could choke Facebook Live with how many angry face floating emojis come. And I would love to see how many. Just let's create a traffic jam, a log jam of angry. Come on, you can do better than that. Come on.
How many have we got? Come on, guys.
Come on, you can do better.
We're not talking hearts, we're talking angries.
No hearts, please. Right. Okay.
Break the record for angry faces.
Let's see if I can provoke a few more.
I think you are the first person that has asked for angry faces. But I think they've released it. Look,
Listen, to play Joan Ferguson, you'd have to love to be hated on some level, would you not?
Yes, and you do it so well. I mean, okay, let's start at the beginning, because there's so much to do. There's so much to do, Pam.
Okay.
Let's talk about tonight's episode like we always do.
Right.
So I've got a couple of talking points here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that I think we should flesh out is around our friend Jakey the Snakey. So Jake and Joan have had a very sort of twisted relationship, I think is the word I might choose to use for this, over the last couple of this season particularly. And as usual, the freak is always 2 steps ahead of him, and always just continuously keeping him as, I guess, her puppet, as some people are calling it, or at her access, because she's always got one extra step ahead. We see Jake basically completely bottom out and go, that's it, I'm out. And then we have this intense scene where a calm, calculated Joan is just like, oh, Jakey, there is no out. Can you talk us through, I guess, playing these scenes with Bernie, who obviously you've worked with really closely this season, and about keeping this almost like carrot dangling chess game between Jake and Pam? Because at the same time too, to be honest,
Joan.
Joan
Yeah.
is one of the biggest allies in her achieving what she's been trying to achieve.
One of her only.
Yeah.
That diminishing circle of helpers. I think that it's so tricky. She plays such a long game, and you'll have to forgive me right off the top that my memory about the minutiae of Joan's strategy, it might get a little hazy because her game is so long, and certainly the kind of the Jake Stewart, Joan Ferguson trajectory began right back on that day in the isolation cells at the beginning of season 4, when it became clear that Niels Jesper was going to turn state's evidence or turn against Joan Ferguson, so that her one secret weapon had gone to the dark side. Because Joan is the side of goodness and light. And it was at that time when it became imperative that she have, I think the lines that the scriptwriters gave me was dead men tell no tale. So it was imperative that that kind of objective through the course of season 4 was to get rid of the one person who could incriminate her. And Jake Stewart arrived and was interested, and after he presented himself, and after a certain amount of assessment, which is Joan Ferguson's way, watch, learn, assess, find out their weaknesses, find out how they can be exploited, how they can be bonded to her, how they can be manipulated, how they can be used, how they, how to kind of get in and get them under her control. Once she kind of identified that, I think she felt that he was putty in her hands. I think the one thing that she didn't anticipate was that he would actually be so weak as to actually fall for Vera, not be able to be as emotionally strong as she thinks she is.
Yeah, and I mean, it was so cutting. Obviously, we saw so much tonight that Jake definitely is completely in love with Vera, but he was trapped and by circumstance.
Poor Jake,
I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't make him a good guy. He's done some pretty bad things, but I guess they're all been actions of circumstances leading to where he is. But that moment when Ferguson just completely breaks Vera and tells her exactly, waits till she's in love with Jake. You can see that Jake's in love with her, and there's just that moment where she just says, it's all been a ploy, it's all not real. And the look on Vera's face is just like, you just have to say anything. You can just see it all crumbling. And the satisfaction that Joan takes in doing that. And then the subsequent follow on with Jake's reaction to that. It's such a massive moment in the sense that all the fans have been saying, come on, surely Vera's going to open up to Jake. But now she is aware of what Jake is. I guess it's a different sentiment, because in the sense that we know that he genuinely does love her, but he did these horrible things to her because of his circumstance with Joan.
And he realises that he was just a pawn in Ferguson's plan, which was, she articulated it very clearly at the beginning of this season, which was she was going to on guard Vera. She was going to destroy her emotionally, professionally, psychologically. And the sad thing is that she was actually looking to have Jake do that, and it became very clear when Vera walks up those stairs with a smile on her face that she just realises that she's going to have to do it herself. So she's really cut herself. She's a very lonely figure.
Yeah.
At the end of it, she really is. She's got nobody left.
Yeah. And I guess that's
the moral of the story, I think.
The delight, though, almost that she seems to take in that moment. Do you think that that's the pinnacle moment where she feels that she finally has taken Vera down? Is that the final moment?
I think she feels a certain kind of hollow victory, yeah.
Yeah.
What I find fascinating about the character is that what she thinks she wants and what's really going on, she's so not in touch with, and yet they both coexist in a parallel in her psyche. and it's the conflict and the times that those two things kind of come in collision with each other that create the complexity of her as a character and make her so kind of delicious and challenging to play, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, so from on that moment, we sort of, I guess this episode, there's such a twist with Joan. We see her on a high and in complete control, and her plan completely, almost sort of seeing it out to where she thought it was, and then all of a sudden we see it completely flip on its head with Frankie and Kaz joining forces and forcing her to face this kangaroo court. And we were talking about this earlier when we were talking about the scene, and I said I really felt, and I used the word, what did I say to you? I said she's admitted, but she didn't admit, but she didn't deny all of the things that she has done, and it's the first time that it was kind of voiced more widely than a few different people knowing here and then. And what I found so delicious was watching Joan lose composure and just literally, she's always composed, she's always one step ahead, she's always, the clogs are moving in her brain to thinking and articulating what she said, and for this moment I feel like we saw her very, very, very vulnerable and raw.
Yes, although I think that has been coming for a while, and I think it's probably that journey started when she banished the voice of her father from her reality, and it certainly then came home in a terrifying way for Joan Ferguson when B. Smith manipulated her emotionally by exploiting a vulnerability in Joan and actually getting her to lose her composure and lose her emotional control. Emotion leads to mistakes and all that stuff. To actually drive that screwdriver in and then therefore incriminate herself, frame herself for a crime that Joan, I'm sure, down deep believes that it was not her fault. The one time it was not her fault, and nobody will believe her because she's the little girl who cried wolf. So I think it's been coming for quite a while. I believe that two things going on there, that we took great care. I have to say the screenwriters, the script writers for Wentworth, I mean, I'm going to be repeating things that other actors have said in these Facebook Live things because let's hope that I can say it in slightly different ways, but I beg your indulgence if I repeat what other people have said, but they are extraordinary. They have such a kind of long arc control over these stories, but also such great care and such kind of structural inventiveness in a way that somehow makes what the incredible continue to happen, where you think, oh my God, how can they top that? Oh my God, oh my God, they just topped that. And there's something to do with, we took great care, and they listened to us actors. That's what I find extraordinary too. It's a brave scriptwriter who listens to actors sometimes. And but they're incredibly generous and straightforward. If you make a suggestion that's not picked up, it's always for good reason. But there are times, I think they've learnt from very early on, that part of the investment of the performers in this series is to do with how close they feel to the characters, and they're living in their skins, and it's a very intense environment. And that pays off with an investment from the audience members, the fans of the show. They feel,
completely immersed in it.
Yeah, immersed in it, because we all are. And I know that we took, this is my answer to that question, great care about the wording of that. And I remember at the time, the wording was a little bit more blatant about basically owning up to doing all those things that Frankie accuses her of in the yard there. And I said, I don't think Joan would ever give you a straight out and out, yes, I did that. Or certainly not in those particular circumstances. And but that she would do a kind of a veiled version of that, and they were gracious enough to kind of work with me on this, a veiled version of it, but basically saying that why she does whatever she does, if she did that, would always be for the greater good. And I think Joan always felt that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Her grasp of what was good for everyone got a little bit more tenuous, I think, as she started to become a little bit unmoored from her stabilizing you know, elements. The voice of her father, the mantra that he would give her, Vera, any kind of the focus of those fragile and delicate attempts at friendship that she might have had with Doreen or even Gianna in the past, all that sort of stuff. And I think it's no accident that with the death of B. Smith and what B. Smith managed to unlock in her, that there is a kind of unravelling that begins to happen through this season. That by the time she's actually cut herself off from Vera, who was a kind of her spirit animal, her kindred, her sister, that under pressure, she releases more, she exposes herself more than she even ever intended.
And I mean, and we'll talk about this before too, the choice to kill Iman, you know, to get at Frankie. I mean, that wasn't, you know, normally Joan makes very calculated decisions for strategy and things that we may not see at the moment, but we'll unsee at the time. And this felt very much just to piss Frankie off, just to fuck with Frankie.
I don't know that it was. I mean, it looks like that. I mean, we talked about it a lot, and I think that ostensibly it would certainly look to Frankie like that. I also think, and this is to me part of the kind of slight unhinging that was starting to happen with Joan. It's the effect of being in prison too, you know. It's that she becomes obsessed with the animal within, which I think is something that they confronted her with. And Frankie starts to symbolize that, and it becomes really important to Joan that she gets Frankie to acknowledge and realize her own anger and her lack of her own animalistic instincts. And so that gets kind of twisted into provocative acts to Frankie, whether it's verbal initially when she arrives back, you know, there she is, there's the old Frankie Doyle, and all that kind of stuff. But it's also and it manifests in things that are just about when Frankie won't conform to the way Joan wants her to be, won't be controlled. It's doing things to keep her inside, keep Frankie in that jail, because that's where she belongs. Because that's where Joan actually belongs. Don't tell anybody that. Please do not tell anybody. She doesn't think that, of course.
She doesn't think that. No, absolutely. She's going to pop on her governor uniform and reinstate her place. And so we talked about that. We saw I've broken the scene into two places where we saw the Kanga court and Joan was doing the closure, and then we see the lynching, which has numerous parts to it. I guess it's the I'm sure people would love you to unpack the behind the scenes of how they actually do something so amazing and make it look so authentic and realistic. But it's also the reactions that you see in that scene. So Kaz is absolutely beside herself because she wanted to continue with her no violence and to be ordered and to be what it was.
Confronting moment.
And it just didn't go that way.
Didn't go to plan. You see what happens?
You see Vera...
The chaotic people.
Yeah, and you see Vera be the one that comes forward. Now, Vera has every reason to let Channing do what he's doing and let Joan get what's coming for her. But again, her moral compass comes in and it's just something that she can't do or can't see forward with. And then the other aspect of it, which I'd love to get your insight on, it felt very much the same or kind of like an homage to that scene where Joan, when she was governor, was watching the CCTV when Vera was actually the one that was...
Got the needle turned out.
It felt like an homage to that in a sense, but this time it was Joan that was at the centre of it, and Vera coming to her rescue, whereas she didn't come to Vera's rescue in the same
yin and yang.
In the same moment.
We actually are two parts of the same person, Vera Bennett and Joan Ferguson, as Kate Atkins and I are the same person, which is probably why we haven't been in too many scenes together this season. Because I find it really moving watching that too, because the way it's been edited, Jeff Hitchens I think did a fabulous job with that. I mean, through so much material. Kevin Carlin is such a wonderful director, and they had to achieve so much in minimal time. I was moved on many fronts. I was moved by the fact that you have to put so much faith into the skill of these professional artisans. You just have to trust that somebody's going to be there, whether it's Tess Natoli and Megan Tiltman doing the makeup, you know, that you can't wait to ask people to do things. They have to be ready to do it, to the extras, to everything. And I found that very moving on the day. When I look at the cut footage and see what Jeff sort of did it, and when you cut to all that, the footage, you know, the shot of Ali seeing her revenge on, you know, Bee's death sort of starting to kind of come home. You see the effect on Kaz. You watch Sonia. You watch the shock on Boomer's face. Frankie's sort of, you know, all the kind of pride at being able to kind of gather the event, all that kind of stuff. Is that you feel all the history that goes back through, you know, 4 seasons really, all kind of coming home there, and that's extraordinary. And like you say, that relationship with Vera, that finally Vera gets an opportunity to show Joan Ferguson what Joan should have done when her life was being threatened, because she's a good person, Vera.
Yeah, it just had so much. I think, like, you do have the definite, you know, visual shock of the lynching and the makeup and the aesthetics and all that goes into that is just magical. But then, like you said, there's all these other moments that just make it the epic scene that it is. I'm sure that the viewers are still, just like us, trying to pick ourselves back up and say what just actually happened. It was just
full on, and also actually doing it. We talked about it on the day. I mean, at one point, Tammy McIntosh going, "Are you all right?" Yeah, it's like, because you do actually, although it's incredibly safe, you know, all precautions are taken. And Zev Eleftheriou, I hope I pronounced that right, Zev, when you're calling out to the stuntman in an emergency, you often don't go for the surname. Thank goodness with Zev.
No,
tricky one.
just Zev.
But Zev. Zev! But in order to, you know, it's a complex technical feat to pull that off, but in order to act it, you do have to get yourself a little bit close to asphyxiation, really. And so some of that was pretty
scary. And that is actually a great segue into me talking about the evolution of Joan from season 2 through to this season. And you, I guess, have had some pretty intense scenes. Pretty intense scenes to film, that being one of them. And I guess how you approach them and how you don't take them home with you, because it's very hard not to.
I kind of have been doing this for too long for it to be a huge problem. Having said that, you should probably speak to my husband, because he might have a different opinion on it. But for me, it's a joy to play, and often the most intense scenes are really they're scenes to relish, and because we're all of us as a family of actors get a lot of professional thrill working on this show, and we enjoy working with each other. And when you've got something really meaty to bite into, or chew on, you're fighting back the feelings of, oh my God, get me at it kind of stuff, and you're not going, oh dear. The really hard ones are often kind of longer questions about strategies or directions that your character might be going in, and how am I going to pull that up? I mean, for me, the hardest stuff that I wrangle with, and I continue to wrangle with, is once Joan Ferguson ended up in Teal and lost the kind of mask and the badges of authority and power, did not have a right to govern in any sense or control. How does she survive? Just where's the persona? And that got quite tricky, particularly through season 4, where she needed a lot of people. She had to get out of isolation in order to get a plan going. Yeah. And she needed to recruit and enlist the help of a number of people. And that involved giving a lot of different messages to different characters. Different people needed different things. So it was a great acting challenge, but that was a really hard one. It was hard stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure how successful it was.
No, it was we're enthralled. I mean, I think that when we watch Joan, we're constantly like, we know she's 2 steps ahead of us. Can we catch up with her? Where's this going?
Yeah.
How's this working? So the intricacy between all of the way she thinks is just as entertaining as the big monumental scenes like cutting out Juice's tongue and, you know, killing B. Smith. They're all just as powerful.
But funnily enough, there you see the character that they've known to, they've grown to know and hate, and it's the ones where that you can't sort of mustache twirl from under a bushel. You know that there were some pretty kind of intricate strategies that she was employing, particularly in the season before this one, which involved really keeping any of her kind of motives hidden from people. So that just occasionally the writers would put in they would just visit a private moment where you just got a glint in the eye or a tremble of something where you realised that there was this subterranean, that the old Joan, the bun was there, even if it was invisible, it was still there. But it was just making sure that I honoured that and did them proud.
Absolutely. And in saying that, what about the evolution of the relationship? I mean, we love seeing how Vera and Joan play off each other, and it was so amazing to see them in the position of authority in being governor and a deputy governor, and then we see the evolution with it being prisoner and governor. How has that been for the both of you to play? Because we asked Kate the same question last week in how that's changed and how that's felt with the power shift and the way you both approached it. Because it's quite an evolution for both characters.
It is, and I mean, you know, I love Kate Atkinson so much. We have such fun working together, and I'm sure Kate would say this too, that I sort of missed that dynamic of the Governor Ferguson and the Deputy Governor Bennett stuff. And it's tricky when Joan is trying to kind of maintain, you know, that relationship when she's, you know, a prisoner. She's behind bars. But that doesn't stop her from trying. And we still, when we have the few encounters that we've had in this season, have been really fun. Delicious. In fact, we have to kind of wipe the smiles off our faces sometimes because we just so enjoy. It's a great relationship between characters. It's a great dynamic, but also that's amplified by the pleasure that we both get professionally in working with each other. And we look so funny.
Yeah, I love it.
Sometimes you can hardly get us in the same frame.
Vera, no.
Vera?
Where are you? Down there.
Oh.
This is one that always comes up, and we've asked quite a few people this question, so we're interested to hear your thoughts on it. When you were first presented with the character of Joan Ferguson, what were your initial thoughts? Because obviously you didn't know where she was going to evolve to, but just in that very first moment of
I think I was just so blinded with excitement. I mean, I was very lucky to come in at the beginning of the second season because they'd ironed out all the issues. Sort of worked out a smoothly running machine. No, it was more to do with the fact that they knew that they were in a hit show, which helped. You know, people just relax a little bit, and they were very generous and welcoming to me. But I also, many of them are colleagues and friends who I've either worked with before or know of socially. And the word on the street already was, even before it had gone to air, this is a good one, this is great. But I'd run into Chris McQuaid, who plays Jax Holt in season 1, and I remember she just wrapped on, it hadn't gone to air yet, but she said, this is a good one, this is a good one. So when the phone call came, I went, oh, yes, that's great. And I remember being ushered in on my first day, and Marcia Gardner, who's the script supervisor, head writer, it was her first thing too. She joined season 2 as well, so we were both standing up, both very eager, both very excited. And but she'd been sitting with writers and developing all the stories for the introduction of the character of Governor Ferguson. And you can call me Governor. And I was ushered into her office to say, Marcia will tell you what is going to happen and just a basic kind of arc of your character. I don't remember a word. I don't remember a word of anything that anybody said to me. I was just so excited.
Like a puppy.
Bunny in the headlights. Let me at it. Give me the bun. Just give me the bun. You know, and the pleasure of working with people like Tess Natoli and Troy Follington, who helped with the makeup department and hair, that developed the look, and Michael Davis, all the people kind of working out the way the character would look. It was baby steps, one at a time. I knew probably that the character would be up to no good. I've said this before in media stuff, that I remember on the first day of meeting my fellow cast members, apologising in advance for all the terrible things that my character would do to them through the course of that. I knew it would probably be up to no good. And amazingly, people were still very nice to me, so it was great. I had no idea where it would go.
Yeah.
No idea. Still don't.
It's just this powerhouse that keeps growing.
Mm-hmm.
On that, the Freak is the villain that viewers love to hate, and she's complex, she's intelligent, she's strategic. How do you personally draw on portraying such a deliciously intense character with such authenticity? Because Pamela Rabe is not evil and not sadistic and none of those things.
How do you know, though, Kel?
Oh, because everyone tells me. In the lead up to today, everyone was like, "Oh, you've got Pam. She's so nice. You're going to have so much fun." And I've seen.
That's very sweet.
I it's such a
Totally untrue. But
complex and delicious character. So where do you draw from?
I think, I don't know. When you look like this, I don't know. I mean, honestly, all I can remember is that I played Goldilocks when I was in kindergarten. Not a success. And
Did you wear a wig or did you have Goldilocks?
but my hair was a little bit light. It was more lightly brown with a little blondie tip. But whatever it is, it just didn't resonate. And then the first movie that I'd ever seen, when I was 3, I was taken by a next-door neighbour's mum with my best friend next door to go see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I remember I was under the seat when the evil queen, your stepmother, came on. I was just terrified. And obviously, as a 3-year-old, I learnt on some really basic level that that's exciting. Now that's interesting.
That's exciting.
You know, little birds and not so
No.
exciting. And so, which for somebody else, another actor, would be. But for me, there's something about that. I didn't know it at the time, but when I look back on it, because to be honest, I've played the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz a couple of times, and that's taught me a lot of things about Joan Ferguson, that I've taken obviously into Joan Ferguson. And if there was one image, this is just thing, if there was one image that I took into as we were, well, there's 2 images as we took into developing a look for the character. I remember discussing with Tess and Troy the Kurosawa movie. This is highbrow now. Get your pencils out, take notes. The Kurosawa movie, Throne of Blood, which is his adaptation of the Macbeth story. I was so taken by the Lady Macbeth character, who was incredibly still and terrifying. That combined with doing a drive up the highway towards Alice Springs once on this huge, where there's no speed limit, and just the shimmering mirage of the highway, and on the horizon there was just something I could make out a lump, and I don't know what it was, and then I realised as I got closer it was this miraged carcass of a cow that had died on the side of the road. And still, you're several kilometres away, but it's kind of coming into focus. And then probably when I got maybe half a kilometre away, suddenly this explosion of birds, predatory birds, all disappeared. But as we got close, one bird of prey, one huge something, vulture, eagle, whatever it was, just stayed there with its claws on this carcass as the car went by. And just in this moment, like a David Lynch freeze frame, I could just see just a ripple of the wind of the car as it whipped by at 120 k's an hour, or whatever it was, just riffling one little feather, but nothing else. And then as we backed just back down to the carcass again, that's Joan Ferguson.
Wow. I didn't expect the second story. But amazing nonetheless. Absolutely amazing. And before we wrap up in talking about all these things,
Sorry, I only speak in essays.
I'm so enthralled.
Without
I'm just
punctuation.
sitting here waiting for the story. What do you, and I ask this to all the guys and they all do say the same sentiment, but I just love it so much, so I'm continuing there. What do you love most about creating this series and being part of it?
I'll say what everybody else says. Great writing, working with people at the top of their game, people who are really invested in what they're creating, in female-driven stories. That's so fabulous, just fabulous. Yeah. Thank you, Amanda Crittenden, Joe Porter, Penny Wynne, Brian Walsh, everybody that's involved in the creation of this. Pino Armenta now, who's our series producer at the moment. But it's just, it was Amanda, Joe, and Penny, particularly at the beginning, and well, Lara. Anyway,
yeah.
Look it up on IMDb. Those people deserve to be kind of got into a big group hug, because it's something. It's unusual. Although it's not that unusual, because the original Prisoner Cell Block H for these people series was extraordinarily successful, and for a lot of the same reason. People love to see a lot of women of all shapes, sizes, ages, sensibilities, moralities, everything. They're not perfect. They're flawed human beings, but actually drive stories, and. It's a real privilege and an honour to be involved in that.
And that's why we all love it so much. We love it.
More of it, I say. More of it.
We're going to have a little break and have some fun. And I'm going to issue with you this paddle. You know what this paddle means. You've seen what the guys do.
Oh.
It says innocent or guilty. All right.
Who has touched this?
Lots of people probably have. Actually, the last person to touch it was... Who was last? Kate. Kate Atkinson.
Oh.
Actually, it was Katrina before her.
Oh,
so
that's all right.
Yeah. Are you ready? I'm gonna shoot some questions
Guilty,
at you.
innocent.
Are you ready? The first one is:
yes.
Have you ever been in a fight? Innocent.
No, that'll be a dull. I won't tell the story. Never mind. No,
have you ever,
wasn't my fault.
Have you ever called into work sick because you were hungover? No.
You can't.
You're also committed.
Well, you can't.
Do you have any tattoos? Innocent. Do you sing in the shower?
Not anymore. And to be honest, I used to a lot. And I was fabulous, I thought. And then I shared digs with an opera singer. And if anything knocks that out of your system, somebody who does it professionally, I just thought, oh, no point trying this. The noises that would come out of that shower stall, honestly.
You do always sound amazing in the shower, though.
Yes.
Have you ever been arrested? Innocent. Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person?
These are all going to be innocent. Clearly.
Look at
angel.
this.
Yeah. No,
Joan Ferguson is an angel.
I don't send that many texts, actually. No. I'm constantly bailing my husband up because he never spell checks, and some of the strangest things go out to people. I'm the kind of person who spell checks their text. I mean, that's not the point, is it?
No, you need to spell check your text, though, I do feel. I'm with you on that one. Have you ever been totally freaked out by a fan?
I'll sit in the fence on that one. I wouldn't say freaked out, but no, I've been impressed by a lot. Unusually impressed by a lot of fans, particularly Joan Ferguson fans. She attracts a very special breed, and I'm full of admiration, and they're very impressive. I would say that very early on in my career, there was a one fan encounter. Can I tell you this?
Yes.
Sorry, I'll try to make this really short.
We're hanging on this every word.
You have to understand that I was very young. This is like 30 years ago. And I had done a play with the marvelous Miriam Margolyes. Some people will know her. She's an extraordinary icon. People will know her as Professor Sprout in the Harry Potter movies, and the Spanish Infanta in Blackadder, and a gazillion things. Anyway, the first time we worked together was on a play about Gertrude Stein and Alice Toklas, which was a success d'estime. That's French. I grew up in Canada. And it was invited to a event in North America, in Michigan, called the Michigan Women's, WOMYNS, International Music Festival, which was an extraordinary event. I think it's only just recently stopped. It went for like 40 years, and it's a, I mean, really special, extraordinary event. It was described by its CEO, Boo, as once a year, like Brigadoon out of the mist, 10,000 lesbians descend on virgin woods in northern Michigan to, in a safe place, celebrate who they are. I mean, it's a feminist lesbian festival, and Miriam and I were invited to present this a beautiful play about Gertrude Stein and Alice Toklas, who are extraordinary. I mean, look them up, Google it, if you don't know who they are. I'm sure you do, but it was a really special play in a very special place. And I want to make sure I'm giving any impression that I'm trying to kind of make fun of this at all, because I'm not, because it was extraordinary and it was mind-blowing, partly because the week that it took place, it's like Woodstock, and it's very hot, middle of summer. It is a safe place. It's women only, and a lot of the women are naked. They're there to celebrate. Some big names are playing: Tracy Chapman, Holly Near, Sweet Honey in the Rock, people like that. But it's a sensory overload. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And when we performed the play, it was during daylight hours. I played Alice Toklas, and at the end of the performance, this crowd of several thousand women, who we could all see because it was daylight, so it was extraordinary feeling this. I mean, it's an extraordinarily important relationship, I think, Alice Toklas and Gertrude Stein, and it was deeply meaningful on so many levels to the women in this audience who were watching it. But clearly one of them, who was very drawn to the Alice Toklas character, and particularly came up to me at the end of the performance. This is my fan encounter that I found not freaked out, but a little overwhelming, and I will never forget it for my whole life, is that she was wearing a raccoon skin, kind of Davy Crockett style hat and nothing else, and asked if she could keep my cigarette butts that I had smoked as Alice Toklas as a memento of the performance. And I just remember at the time not knowing where to look. I was so young. It was. I'm older now.
What was your answer?
I just, sure. You really? And she put them in her coonskin hat.
Because where else would she put them?
And I thought, I will never forget this for the rest of my life. That was special.
For the special moment. It's an overwhelming moment, not a freaked out moment.
Not freaked out, but
no.
Yeah, I'll carry that with me.
Awesome.
Sorry.
So on to that, speaking of nude, have you ever done a nudie run?
Well, a nudie walk, can I say that?
Yes.
And this was professional too, because I was doing, this is so silly. I'll try to make this really short. I made a film in the early 90s called Sirens, John Digan movie about Norman Lindsay and the kind of artist family that he had up in Springwood in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales back in the early 20th century, 20s and stuff. And John Digan wanted to capture this around the Springwood. It's still up there. It's a museum. It's a beautiful, beautiful property, beautiful house, restored and very cared for. And there are a lot of beautiful statuary around that Norman himself, the artist, had created. They're still there. You can see them. And John Digan wanted to have a moment just that he could catch on screen of one of the statues in the middle of the night, in a kind of dream sequence, coming to life and stepping off its plinth and walking away. And I actually think he wanted somebody else to do it, but I was the one who went, "I'll do it." And I can remember at the end of a very long shoot, on an extraordinary, glorious, still Sydney Blue Mountains night, them finally on wrap, going, wait a minute, this is perfect, let's grab it now, and being rushed into makeup, getting full head to toe concrete makeup done, getting up onto that plinth, and it was all really quick because they really wanted to do it really quick while the cracker going around. Colin did the cracker, and so it was just still in the air, nothing was moving. And they went, you can do this, you can give it a count of 8, step off the plinth, and then walk into the trees. And so, and action. Still walked off the plinth, turned around, walked away from camera into the trees, and further into the trees, and just kept walking. And they were so pleased with the shot, and it was wrap. Nobody came and told me. I just kept walking. I got like a kilometre.
So it was a short, nudie walk. It was
Into
like
the Blue
a
Mountains. I just had visions of being found by a bushwalker. At 8 a.m. the next morning, this naked woman covered in concrete makeup, going, "Excuse me, can you tell me the way?"
Have we wrapped?
Yes.
Someone called
Some
Scene.
breathless third finally came running after me.
Oh, that's
so that's a nudie walk.
So a nudie walk. Have you ever re-gifted a gift?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, haven't we
That's
all?
what you do with a gift that is more meaningful to somebody else than it might be to you. Spread the love.
Have you ever considered being on a reality TV series? No. Have you ever had a crush on a
cooking show.
cooking
No.
show? Have you ever had a crush on a castmate?
Oh, yes.
Anyone in particular?
All the time.
Just crush.
Whatever gets you up in the morning,
Yeah.
as it were.
Has a fan ever mistaken you for somebody else?
Not really. Yeah, a little bit. So, they'll say I remind them of somebody else, like whether it's Angelica Houston or
Oh, okay.
Lassie, things like that.
Lassie. And last but not least, have you ever gone commando?
At the Michigan Women's Festival, I mean, Miriam, who I've never seen flabbergasted by anything, even she was a little taken aback by some of the stuff going on. I do remember on the last day, having been surrounded for so many days by a lot of women not wearing clothes and actually, feeling free and liberated. I remember on the last day that we did walk, it was very hot and everything like that, onto the land, and she said to me, "I'm not wearing a bra," and I said, "Neither am I." That was our woman.
When in Rome, right?
That's
When in Rome.
just giving over. Giving over.
Well, this is the moment, thank you for that game, Pamela. This is the moment that all you fans are waiting for because I've seen all the questions coming in. This is where they get to take over. And it's all about them and you. And I shut up and I just literally ask them
Be
what they
gentle
want
with
to
me,
know.
please. I've been through a lot.
Now, they are very good at writing questions. They've had some really good questions. So.
Now you see where this all came from.
Look, cleaning.
That was my one touch.
Okay, I'm going to start with Justin Dowdle. Hello, Pam.
Hi, Justin.
I have one question.
Oh,
Firstly, though, you're a brilliant actress.
Oh.
That episode was intense.
Sure was.
How do you get motivated to act as the freak? You're brilliant as her, and I absolutely love your work.
Justin, I think I probably have answered that in my very long-winded answers. So I hope I don't mean to be kind of
But
I
I
was going to
just
say tossing you off.
no.
That
I
doesn't
wanted
sound
to
right
read it
at all.
because he obviously is he's a big fan.
And that's it. I mean, those are such kind words, and I think that it does go back to when the writers give you really, really exciting stuff to do. It's a pleasure, and intense doesn't become actually intense. It's what you go to work for.
Yeah. This is from Kiana Redman.
Hi, Kiana.
Oh my God, Pam! I love you, even though I kind of hate Joan immensely. You were
Kiana,
so.
can you give me a little? Can you give me a little love heart and a little angry face at the same time?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
You are so phenomenal, and your acting is out of this world. Who or what would you say shaped you as an actress?
Beyond Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and
Yeah.
who or what shaped me as an actress. It's a combination, obviously, of many factors, and I come from a very large family, and there's a lot of characters in there, and as you can tell, we all love telling stories. My mum's side of the family, I just remember them all. Rabe is my mother's maiden name, and they're laughers. They're people who laugh till they cry. So much watching, grown-ups weeping in hysterics as I was growing up. And my dad's side of the family is a much sterner, kind of Eastern European. And something about the collision of those two things, I reckon, it was good fodder for it. And then I was just gifted enough to have I don't mean gifted, I mean I was given the gift of having two absolutely fabulous drama teachers in high school.
Yeah.
And well, actually teachers all the way through school that were just in combination seemed to make me realise it was something that I enjoyed doing, and then also it was something that maybe that you could do for a living. As long as you could survive.
As long as you have enough roles. This is I don't know exactly. I'm going to read this person's name. This person's name is Rabe's a Goddess, future Mrs. Rabe. But it's a good question.
Ring on now.
When you have a few minute breaks during filming, what do you spend your time doing?
Is that a leading question, my future wife?
Yeah, possibly.
I have been known to play the occasional Candy Crush.
Ooh.
I have moved on. I'm on to Jelly Crush now.
Victoria Atwood, I just wanted to say you're the most amazing villain I've ever seen on TV.
Thank you, Victoria.
How hard is it to play your character, and do you have any similarities with her?
Well, obviously, I must have some. She has my eyebrows. And I hope I don't have too many, because that would be a little bit scary. But I think down deep, I mean, what I love about her as a character is that she's a manifestation of all those things that you just do not do.
Mm.
So that there's even a part of me that when I talk about it being delicious, or it's something that you relish, it's because it gives me permission in a safe environment to indulge impulses, because it's Joan, and it's a story, it's a fiction, it's not real life, it's a fiction.
Pretensies.
It's pretensies, as Kate Atkins would say. And so, that in the end, how Joan, how I manifest the responses at the writer's script is about me and I try not to think about it too much. I try to just open that trap door and just let them
Let her out. Let her out. Beth Mason.
I think that's the animal within.
Beth Mason, what's your first reaction when you get given a script with a particularly violent scene, i.e. cutting out Juice's tongue or killing a mum?
One is technical and one is psychological. So it's what has to be achieved and how we're going to do it. And that's when Graham, Jane, or Zev, Alatheriou, are indispensable in combination with the director of the episode. And the second one is always why. Why is that happening? And kind of in consultation with the writers and the director and sometimes fellow actors and stuff, working out a way to put that next pearl on the chain or the bead on the thing of working out right. And I mean, I've learnt so much about Joan Ferguson through the course of these last, whatever it is, 4 seasons, because they keep giving her different things to do. There's a new expression of the extremes that she'll go to, or the kind of constraints that she's under suddenly make another part of her personality erupt, and integrating that, making it feel psychologically authentic is really important, I think.
Yeah, and you do an amazing job of it. Philip I'm going to pronounce your name, Philip Natras. How many puddings did you actually have to eat when filming the scene in the dining room when the women elected you top dog?
Not too many, because I'm a one-take wonder. But a few. But I love that scene. For any of you, eagle-eye, food watchers of Wentworth, people might have noted that Joan never ate anything.
No.
Biscuits in wrappers, and when she finally got a level of a sense of, She felt she had the kind of situation under a certain amount of control. She'd have a little bit of butter in packets, and this is where Paris McKenna Smith, the standby props master, I love him for life, because he would always indulge me with all this stuff. Is that I felt was really important. It was so clear that she'd be poisoned by anybody that she'd be very, very careful about what she put into her mouth.
Yeah.
But that when she finally was recognised and acknowledged for the supreme leader that she is, at the end of that episode, she finally felt safe enough to just woof that down like nobody's business. She finally got some of the calories into her.
Yeah. This one's from Jess Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is quite an interesting one. Do you think Joan is a victim or a villain? I'm pretty sure she's a complex mix of both. Interested to hear your thoughts.
I agree. Because she's clearly the thing I said at the beginning about these two levels of. She's so out of touch with her unconscious motivation in a way that the things that drive her or the damage that fuels her needs, that she's oddly enough a kind of a victim of her own psychology. And yet that drives her to do some pretty villainous things, obviously. She just wants to be loved.
She just wants everyone. Isn't that a running theme? Everyone just wants to be loved.
And I also think, though, that I mentioned this, I think, around the end of season 3 too, that it's quite ironic. Really, I think that Joan Ferguson, she came in as the fixer in that prison, and really, ideally, what she really wanted was everything to run like the music, to run in great polyphony, harmoniously. In her mind, the best way to do that was with her at the pinnacle, this great triangle, this great heap, this mountain of people all doing her will, because her will was the best.
Right.
But that it was about everybody working in concert, and the irony, of course, is that when they finally do work in concert, it's against her. But at least she got them all together on one thing, singing the same song.
Absolutely. I'm just, guys, I just have to put it out to you. These questions are absolutely amazing and super intelligent, and I honestly I'm overwhelmed with how many great questions that are coming in. There's so much love for you, Pamela.
Joan Ferguson fans, you see.
And that,
Even the
there's
haters,
actually quite a lot of empathy for Joan. And it's not that they hate her, they love to hate her. This one's hilarious. This is from Wentworth Memes. She wants to say, eyebrows always on point, totally jealous. And actually we saw in this episode when Joan was talking to Jake, she was crafting those on point.
Well, she'd need to
eyebrows.
spend some time on them, I think, so I thought it was important that we had one little glimpse at what goes on in the mirrors.
Yes. I'm being told to wrap up. Look at
Sorry.
this. I'm being told to wrap up. I'm going to ask 2 more questions from you guys because they're so amazing. I'm going to be like, Erica Thomas.
Erica, how are you?
Do you believe Joan truly is a psychopath, or do you think years of abuse and trauma have made her what she is today?
I'm going to give the short answer to that, which is that, it's a spectrum of psychopathy, is it not? I think certainly the very fact that the writers have given Joan a lot of strings to her bow, and it's been apparent from where the stories have gone that she does have emotional responses to things. She does have emotions that she keeps trying to keep in check, and although she's incredibly skilled in a psychopathic, she's certainly a sociopath, way at manipulating those emotions, and employing what she knows about her great kind of acuity, if that's the right word, of her observation of others' emotions, all that sort of stuff. She's herself vulnerable, and she does feel. So, but she just spends a lot of time trying to keep that at bay. So I think that she's a cocktail, obviously, of very many things.
Yes. And a question...
Misunderstood cocktail.
A misunderstood cocktail.
Invented cocktail called Joan.
Well, imagine what it would be called.
The muddled freak. Yes, that's
right. And this is a question that I'm not going to put a name to it because loads and loads of people have been asking it, so I'm going to do it as for all of you.
Yes.
Do you prefer playing a prisoner or a governor?
You see, I think, as you can see, particularly from this season, Joan thinks she's still the governor. So, I sort of miss the bun and the uniform and the epaulets and because it gave automatically, as I said, that kind of an armour and a mask. But I certainly have loved the challenge, professional challenge really, of trying to kind of keep the character true when all the trappings have disappeared. So it's a hard one to answer.
I think the great thing though about teal, and we see it across the board, is everyone wears their teal differently.
Yeah.
And they wear it to, I mean, they've been stripped of everything. And they still wear their teal to who they are, to be able to represent themselves to a certain extent. And what we see with Joan is that the hair, it's not in the bun, but it's in the tight
There's a hint
ponytail.
at it, and a lot of effort when the little frizzies, I call them my Al Lewis Grandpa Monster little frizzies come out. And Michael was really great, sort of honing in on that look for the freaking teal, Joan Ferguson teal. And I said, do you remember from One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest? You know, Chief? There's something about, I just wanted her to look like the Incredible Hulk. You know, that there was something just that the massiveness of her would sing in that teal. You know, and that's something I
and her
share
teal
with
is immaculate. You know, it's not ratty. It's very. It's like the best the uniform can be worn.
Yeah.
You want to call it a uniform?
Yes. Well, she'll pay as much attention to it as she does to.
The one last one that we ask everyone is, what Foxtel TV series do you love to binge on?
Oh,
you can't say Wentworth.
I can't say Wentworth
because
I do love watching Wentworth when the audience watches it. Probably the last one would have been Feud, the Bette Davis
I love that.
Joan Crawford thing. Gorgeous actresses, Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange. I'm so behind on Game of Thrones, so I probably need to do a big catch up.
You do a big binge search.
But I tell you, I'm really looking forward to Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yes.
And Top of the Lake.
Yes.
So stuff to look forward to binge on, yes.
Lots of things. Okay, and then we've got our final 15. So here we go. And this is like first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
You just have to, you can't fence it.
Okay.
It's straight in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sydney or Melbourne?
Melbourne.
Beer or wine?
Beer and wine together. Sorry, it has to be one of the others. Beer just as craft beer is getting craft beer.
Craft beer. Vera or Jake?
Vera.
Phone call or text?
Neither. Text.
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram, probably, yeah.
Passenger or driver?
Driver, definitely. Although I was a passenger for the first 30 years of my life. My first bit of my autobiography will be taking the wheel of life. If you don't drive, do it now. And I've now dedicated the next 30 years of my life to giving everybody lifts in payback for all the lifts that I got from people.
You are now the driver. TV or book?
Book.
Winter or summer?
Oh, it's a hard one. I grew up in Canada, so I have memories of Canadian, up in the Yukon winters. So soft spot for winter, but boy, oh boy, the sun is a beautiful thing.
Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Dine in or dine out?
Dine in.
Fries or salad?
A fry wrapped in a lettuce leaf.
Loud or quiet?
Quiet.
Comedy or drama?
Melancholy.
Sweets or savoury?
Savoury.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
And the last one, governor or prisoner?
Governor.
Thank you, Pamela Rabe. You have been absolutely amazing, and thank you all for tuning in.
Sorry.
No, your questions have been amazing, and I only wish we'd get to all of them because we've just been super excited to have you, and we've enjoyed every moment of it, action-packed. You know, in planning tonight's thing, I actually
can't wait to see what happens next.
I said to the PR girl, I said, how can I possibly cram every single question I have to ask Pamela Rabe into 1 hour? It's impossible. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Kel. You're fabulous.
Unpacking
really, really
these.
good.
Oh,
thank you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest in the world of Wentworth.
And one ep to go. That's it. Season finale next week.
Yes, but then what?
But then what? Do you have any? Actually, it is a good one. Do you have any plans for season finale watching? Where will you be watching season finale next week?
I'll be in Melbourne. I don't know. It'll be a muddled freak cocktail and probably a chip wrap and let's leave.
Sounds amazing. Everyone else is going to copy. We're going to see it go viral.
I want to see those gifts now.
Well, thank you, Pamela, and thank you for everything that you bring to this amazing show.
Thanks,
and
Cal.
I speak on behalf of all the fans. We absolutely adore you, and we adore and love to hate Joan Ferguson. So thank you for another amazing season.
Keep on
And
hating.
we'll have to find out what happens next week. Reminding you all at home, 8:30 Tuesday showcase on Foxtel, and we'll have to leave it there and see what
us all.
See what becomes, because we saw those eyes open. She isn't gone. Where to next?
Where to next?
Well, thank you so much, Pamela. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Cal.
See you guys.
See ya.